That looks good. Yeah, the alerts look really cool. I was kind of nervous about not getting to use my own, but honestly, they look really freaking good. Did Twitch just release a competitor to OBS? Well, no. And I'm gonna hopefully bust some of those myths in today's video. But Twitch did officially make their Twitch Studio streaming app public open beta. It's been closed beta for a while. I've been testing it for a little bit. It's finally open and available for everybody to use and try out. And I had a lot of questions about it that I wanted to go ahead and answer for you guys and provide a little bit of a mini tutorial here for setting up your own, more advanced stuff in it, as I think it's really, really cool and people are kind of approaching it in the wrong way. So Twitch released their own streaming app called Twitch Studio Beta, and they've been developing this for a little while, and immediately people were calling out comparisons to the streaming app called Bebo, and apparently Twitch itself had acquired the team who developed Bebo, who are working on this. However, they do claim that Twitch Studio was developed 100% from scratch from the ground up for this purpose. It's not just a rebranded Bebo, and given that during my beta testing, it went from having barely any functionality to having all of the stuff it does now, I would say that's probably true. However, I didn't actually use Bebo. It was one of those things people asked me to cover, and then by the time I got around to actually having time to cover it, it was already dead and gone. And that is why I don't jump on every little, new streaming niche thing that people think is cool, but no one else is talking about, because usually by the time I can give it like the fair coverage it needs, it's already dead and gone. So I take my time with these things, which I took my time with testing out Twitch Studio Beta. One of my favorite streams I did with it was streaming, and keep in mind, this is supposed to be a more, user-friendly, super basic streaming program. I was streaming Ion Fury on a CRT with Twitch Studio Beta, and actually had a really good time in 4:3 at 120 hertz. It was pretty cool. I had Twitch developers come check out the stream. I guess the VOD's not up anymore, but the clips to it are on my Twitch. Go follow me at twitch.tv/EposVox. How about that? Anyway, so Twitch Studio Beta is not meant to really be a direct competitor to OBS. Inherently, it is a competitor to OBS by nature of being another streaming app, but they didn't set out to, directly take market share from OBS or to directly compete with them. And it's not meant to serve the same audience as OBS. And they have said that many times. And Twitch itself is actually a big, paying contributor to the development of OBS. They have supported OBS a whole heck of a lot. And that is not changing anytime soon. This is not supposed to be Twitch jobs like Streamlabs OBS. It's not supposed to be TWABs or like slobs. It's supposed to be a super basic, beginner-friendly, the easiest way to get started streaming on Twitch. I did see a couple articles saying that this was to replace the built-in native mixer integration on Windows 10 that the game bar had that was recently removed. I talked about that in Streamer News. I'm not sure how a Twitch-exclusive streaming program is meant to replace a mixer integration on something people didn't use. But whatever, for an interesting headline, I guess. So again, even the tagline for Twitch Studio Beta is literally going live is getting a whole lot easier. This runs on Windows 7 or newer, so those of you clutching to your esoteric ancient operating systems will not be left in the dark for now, although most capture card and webcam things aren't going to work on that moving forward. But hey, whatever. But again, it's supposed to be something where you can get started from the ground running with as few clicks and advanced configurations as possible to get streaming. And Twitch Studio serves that purpose. OBS has their auto configuration thing. They have their, a bare bones onboarding process, but you still have to manage your sources. You still have to add this, resize this. A lot of people get confused why your webcam doesn't, or your game capture doesn't take up the full screen. If they have it set wrong, you still have to set all your resolutions and things like that. The auto config only takes you so far, and it's kind of inherently meant to be used in a more advanced way. And that's why I love it, because I can do some really advanced stuff with it. But as far as people who really just want to stream for the very first time and have no idea what they're doing, Twitch Studio is, as far as I'm concerned, the best and fastest way to get up and running as a new streamer, at least for PC streaming. They do have some capture card support. They're still working on that. I was supposed to help out test with that, and then we had some issues with pregnancy and things like that, so I fell behind on those duties. My bad. But it is, very oriented towards PC games. Once you first install it and launch it, you sign in with your Twitch account if it didn't already sign you in, since if you were in closed beta, it tied it to your Twitch account. And you can switch accounts if you stream to multiple accounts, but you cannot multicast from this. And then it basically just asks you some super basic questions of setting up your stream, walking through, choosing your microphone, choosing your speakers, adding your webcam, making sure that works, adding filters to your webcam, adding processing to your microphone without making that scary. When you set up your microphone, you have a little toggle for like cleaning it up or something. And then you have basic things like a noise suppression and a noise gate and a limiter / compressor. Except it words it in more beginner-friendly ways. It just kind of takes all of the advanced configuration away from you and just says, do you want background removal? Do you want normalization? Ready to go, which is pretty freaking cool. And then you walk through your webcam, you can add filters to your webcam. That's a little silly, but a lot of people want it. And, you know, creative style is always useful. And then you can choose from their built-in, they already have built-in selections of customizable themes where you can adjust colors, choose different backgrounds, choose your webcam frame, choose, you know, all sorts of stuff right built into there. Although they do have support for other options, which we will be covering later in the video. And then you move along and you set up your alerts, and it does have alert native integration since it is direct from Twitch. It has chat integration. You can set up your layout and customize it from there, but it does start you out with some basic, you know, assumed layouts that everybody, you know, are staples for streams, such as a starting soon screen, a be right back screen, a just chatting screen, a gameplay facecam screen, and then you can customize from there and build your own. They make it very, very easy, and that is the point. Again, this is for the user who has never really streamed before or who has gotten fed up and frustrated with OBS or, you know, advanced streaming apps in the past and just doesn't want to think about it. Now, if you do want to think about it, once you set up your streaming and your encoder and yada yada, you can actually go in and advanced manage your encoding settings to a degree. So I can choose X264 over NVENC, I can choose my bitrate, I can override the 6 megabit per second default cap to 8 megabits per second, which they probably don't want you to do. And I can, you know, manage a little bit. I don't see any options for like customizing X264 flags and arguments and presets and all of that, because that's not supposed to be in there. But you get the idea. So that's kind of who it's for and why it was made. And honestly, even for me, like if I wanted something super basic where I didn't want to have to configure a whole heck of a lot, it's actually kind of impressive. And I could see myself using it on like remote setups, or if I just wanted to hit the ground running with a super basic stream. This is definitely a great way to go. And I do think there is an audience for this that, you know, it doesn't want to watch a 5-hour masterclass by some jerk on YouTube who, you know, talks too much about OBS. They just want to stream and not think about it. There is definitely an audience here, and I think this serves that audience very well. We're going to flip over to the desktop and show some of the customization you can do, some of the setups, some of the little advanced tips, also how to import your own graphics packages, such as the ones from our recurring sponsor on the channel, Owned. You can visit them at eposvox.gg/OWN3D. And they have complete graphics packages, not only for your stream, but for social media, for websites. They can really, you know, revamp your brand, and you can very easily get set up with some of their custom overlays or webcam frames or be right back screens and things like that. So we're gonna flip over to the desktop and check that out. All right, once you have installed Twitch Studio Beta, you're presented with this UI here. You may have rushed through the initial onboarding process. I rush through it in my showing of it. So we're going to go through the different options you can customize after the fact, because that's usually where people end up for these videos. Here is the main UI you have here. At the top, you see the Twitch Studio Beta button, the version you're running on, and an option to swap around some of your columns or hide them entirely. So for example, if you're sticking with one scene for some reason and you don't want to edit them, you can turn off that column. That one should always be on though. And if you don't want to mess with chat or your activity feed, you can hide that as well. Or you can swap them around if you prefer to read chat on the left, which may be more ergonomically friendly for some people. I'm going to swap it back just so it's the default experience for now. You also have the option, if you click here, to see and then change your stream title, your stream go live notification, the stream category or game that you're in, audience requirements, which I think that's a partner role because I'm not a partner, tags, and your stream language. You hit done and that updates there. So that's really cool that that's built in, because that's a feature for like OBS and things like that that people have been asking for a very long time. Over here on the right, you can report bugs. Obviously do that if you encounter any, and you have your profile. So you can open up your dashboard, which will just open in the browser. your channel page, your video producer page, hide the video preview. This can help save performance if this is somehow pegging your graphics card too much. That is an option to you, or you just find it distracting and don't want to watch it, but then you don't entirely know what's going on in your stream, and you can pull up settings. But you can also pull up settings down here in the bottom right corner as well. In settings, you can encounter a lot of the same stuff we've already seen. You can switch between light and dark theme. I apologize for those who I've blinded with the light theme for a second. And then you can reset the app entirely as if it's the first time in case you want to go back through that initial onboarding process, which is kind of cool. Over here under Stream, here you can set up your settings. These are based on the optimized settings by default, but I have already customized them. You can click Re-Optimize Settings. It's going to test your bandwidth, your computer, and your graphics card power, and determine what it thinks automatically you should be using. I'm currently on the Ryzen 9 3900X and a Titan RTX graphics card, so honestly there's no real reason for it to have given me this option, and that's the issue with these automatic settings, is a 3900X, a Titan RTX, 64 gigs of RAM, and gigabit fiber, and it thinks I should be streaming at 720p 30, 3 megabits per second for some reason. Probably because the bandwidth test that it did not run very successfully. So you can, if you don't want to mess with these settings, since I am, pushing this as the option for people who don't want to learn anything, that's totally fine. Or we can, you can hit apply, or you can have clicked tweak settings, which will take you here in order to customize it. Now they do have different quality preset options to start with, from 480p 60 all the way up to 1080p 60 with 30 FPS options at various points. I'm going to choose 720p 60. I have a whole video on why I generally recommend choosing that, linked in the video description. And then you can choose your actual resolution, because that just is a preset for that resolution, frame rate, and bit rate, and everything like that. But you can come down and actually choose your resolution or type it in. So if I do 3440, if I delete it, I won't let you delete the X. So if I do 3440 by 1440, I can do that if I want. And then you can choose your frame rate, 20, 30, 50, and 60. No 48 options for those of you weirdos using that. And then your bitrate, which goes up to 6, which is their official max, but you can, of course, delete that 6 and type in 8, which they probably are very mad that I'm telling you right now. And then you can choose your encoder, be that X264, which will run on your processor, or NVENC, which will run on a dedicated encoder chip on your graphics card. That's the video encode engine. You see here I'm using NVENC via OBS Studio to record right now in HEVC. So you have an option to use that. X264 will impact your game's performance, and a lot of processors will not be able to stream this. However, it can, depending on their presets here, which they do not give you options for, theoretically get you better quality. Or you can choose NVENC, which will basically not impact your game at all any more than just having this program open without streaming would, but could theoretically be lower quality, but they don't have any fine-tuning controls, so Once you're happy with your settings, or you can hit re-optimize if you decide you don't like what you're doing, you're good to go. I'm going to go ahead and set this back to 1280 by 720. Go over to recording. You only have two options: where your recordings go and the format it records in. Unfortunately, they do not have MKV. That is probably due to the fact that MKV is not supported in a lot of video editors where FLV would be, and a lot of newbies may get confused as to why it's not working. So it's unfortunate, but they don't really have multi-track audio anyway. So FLV, so the difference here, I guess I should establish, is that MP4 is going to be the most compatible format with all of your video editors and websites and things like that, because it is just a container. The actual, what's called a codec, is still going to be H.264, regardless of which option you use. But some programs don't like the MP4 file container, or it's kind of like the file extension, but it's more detailed than that. They don't like the FLV one and prefer MP4, and so you'll have more compatibility with MP4, but if the program crashes while you're in the middle of recording, or if your computer restarts randomly, or something interrupts the recording, the MP4 file will corrupt and you will basically be unable to recover it, whereas the FLV file will still be preserved. For the most part, it is much more likely to not be corrupted and to still be usable, even if unfinished. So for a lot of people, I recommend setting recording, if recording is important to you, to FLV in this specific program, because then if your program crashes, your recording's still safe. I hope that makes sense. I have a whole video on this as it relates to OBS Studio specifically in the description down below, and why I recommend MKV for OBS as it is. Over here in audio, you can choose your input devices, your main microphone, which for me is this one. And then you can see a preview of your talking volume. You can see here, you want to have it just right in this just right part. I'm going to lower this a little bit because if I'm talking really loudly, I kind of hit the too high part, but this seems to be just right. You also have a listen to mic button, which will loop it back through your speakers or headphones so you can hear it. I'm going to leave that off to not give you a headache. You can also convert to mono, which is actually specifically required for my audio interface, as my audio interface has my microphone, and this is very common. On the left side, microphones are mono. You only have one capsule, one mouth, it's mono. And so it only comes in on one side, and so that would make people's right ears very lonely. This mixes it over to mono so that everybody can hear it on both sides. Now, it asks you questions during the onboarding process about whether you want compression, noise gates, and noise suppressors, and then sets it up by default. But then you can come in here and manually adjust the ratio, which I'm going to set down to 4, the threshold for which it gets introduced, and even more attack and release options and makeup gain under the advanced settings. Same thing with noise gate. You get a threshold of when it actually, how loud you have to be before it will actually start playing audio. And then advanced options has how quickly, how low or how quiet you have to be before it turns off. I'm actually going to turn that down a little bit. Attack time, how long it stays open or closed, and release time. And then noise suppressor has a whole bunch of different options. Actually, one option, is it low, moderate, high, or very high? Basically, how aggressive is the suppressor? I'm going to turn that off. Then you have some hotkeys options. Set hotkeys for start streaming, stop recording, or start and stop streaming, rather, start and stop recording. Switching to your different scene layouts. So your main scene, your be right back scene, your downtime scene, or to open the layout editor entirely, and to mute your microphone, which is pretty cool. They have a video tab setting, but at the time of recording on November 14th, that is still grayed out. You can also log out down here. I'm going to turn my video preview back on here. Here you can, over on the left, you have your stream layout and all of your different settings. At the bottom on the left, you have your microphone and your speaker sound for your computer. And you can listen to it. You can adjust the volume balance between your game and your microphone, and you can mute individually each of these if you desire. You can see a little preview of the audio bars there. You can click Setup Stream, or to start recording video, or to start streaming now. You can edit your layout, which will take you to the layout editor. We will come back to that. And then you have your chat and your online or offline status, how much computer usage this program's using, and your activity feed up here. This is a really great layout, to be honest. Now over here at the top, you have a little what's called a hamburger menu, which has like a file, edit, view, window, and help option. I believe this is, it seems like they're using almost like Electron, which uses basically Chromium to make their program. This is what Streamlabs OBS uses. This looks very similar to what like Chromium options are. So this is just due to the UI. You have no real reason to use these specific versions of the settings unless the buttons themselves just aren't present. And they may actually remove that in time once they know that the software is stable. All right, let's get to customizing your stream layouts. During the onboarding process, I accepted a background theme and added a webcam, which is my kitty cam. You can see my little black kitty sleeping on that second cat tower over there on the right with the basic border. You have a main screen, a be right back screen. I love this retro theme. This is amazing. I'm keeping this. And a downtime screen, which is just your camera and waiting for the match to start. You can, of course, add a new scene, what they're calling layouts, but in OBS, they're scenes entirely. Then you can double click on them, come in here. You can choose which one you're editing. You have different layers you can add. You have your mouse pointer or a crop tool. We'll come back to that. You have your save and cancel buttons. We're going to cancel that. We're going to look at the different scenes real quick here for a second. And you can view either the detailed listing or a compact listing if you just want shortened titles because you have like a crap ton of scenes, which is pretty cool. I feel like they could just make these the 2 buttons right here instead of needing the dots. That's a waste of UI space, but that's fine. So we're going to go ahead and edit our custom layout here. So by default, it's blank if you're adding a new scene, or you can edit scenes that already exist. So I can come down here and edit my be right back scene and edit all the elements. So you can see here, we have a dot color. That is just that little yellow square. That's funny. The AFK text, which says be right back. The text background, which is this background here. The pattern, and a pattern color. If we're making our own scene, then we have all of these options to choose from. You can add a screen share. So if you go to main screen share, we add that to the scene. Oh, I just turned it off. You have hide layer, lock layer, hide show, and then lock it so you can't edit the position anymore. Very handy. Once you have stuff where you want it to go, you want to lock it so you can't accidentally drag it off screen. Under screen share source, you can change that and you can choose either to automatically detect full screen applications, which would be your games in most cases, or you can have it select specific windows. So for example, I can hook Discord, or you can choose entire displays. So I can hook my entire second monitor here, which will show, and then you can toggle capture cursor. You can show your entire monitor if that's what you desire, or I can change that to choose a capture card, which would be my Elgato 4K 60 Pro Mark II, which actually has my camera running into it at the moment, or I can choose a specific window capture, like Discord. This one may not work properly because it has hardware acceleration enabled. For browsers and programs like Discord, you have to disable that or you'll get a black screen sometimes. What if I switch over to, say, Steam? That is not actually open. I don't know why that's on the list. What about Explorer? There we go. Done. We have just Explorer captured in here, if for whatever reason that is what you desire. The title bar does not render properly. You can see the colors missing in the buttons, but you can generally see what's going on. Now you have options for this specific source. You can adjust the size, the position. You can stretch it if you unlock the aspect ratio. You have a default sizing preset, so you can fit it. You can fill it, which will crop off a bit, but fill the whole screen, or you can stretch it to fill the whole screen. Pretty handy. Then you can add a border. So if we just make it fit, then we can add a border. You see we have a little rounded purple border. We can edit that. We can change the color, make it whatever we want. You can change the opacity, make it a little translucent or full. You can adjust the size to make it freaking massive. You can change the rounding so it just totally curves off or becomes pointy. And then you can hide the border itself so you can come back to it or delete the border with the X. You can add chroma keying useful for alerts or if you have a green screen setup. So if you hit that, then you can choose the color key color. You can't, unfortunately, actually choose that from your scene. That would be a point of improvement I would add. But if I added like yellow or something, it starts to cut out everything. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that. You can add a color filter, which will make it black and white 2, lo-fi, all of these. It's basically the Instagram filters that they already have available for the camera. So it's cool that you can add that on a per source basis instead of just in the webcam settings. Let's go back to your sources. So you have screen share options. You have text sources, which can just be overlay text, blah, 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 blah. You have font size, font color, normal options. You have images you can add. So you can just add a picture entirely. So they have default wallpapers that you can use for backdrops. They have some cool themes, some Twitch stuff, or you can browse and add your own picture. I don't know what those are. I'm not going to show those on screen just in case they're data. I can add me at 99,999 subscribers. Add that to my stream. Boom. Right there. And again, you have all the usual border chroma key. Oh, it's a GIF of that flipping over. Does not seem to be updating on the stream, however. So GIF support may be varied because it shows it in the preview, but not on the stream. Can't answer that one right now. Under image, you have media, so you can add individual media sources. So if we wait for it to load here, choose a media file. This does have chroma keying support still. So if I come over here and pull out my usual alert stuff, actually, I don't even need chroma keying for this. Aha! But you will run into some trouble because it supports .webp, but not WebM. Actually, WebM is right there. You just have to choose video. That's interesting. So you have image, sound, video. You have to manually choose. That's annoying. Don't let that mislead you. You can choose WebM. So I can actually bring in my own overlay here. Select that. And then wrap that around my camera. So I have an animated webcam overlay of my own. I can import that with the media source, and it supports the transparency from the WebM file. If it is a green background file, you can then use the chroma keying, of course. Below media, you have colors and color gradients, useful for certain things. You can add your webcam right there. Then you can choose which webcam device it is. Now, it is more strict about what actually shows up as a quote-unquote webcam. I believe it's probably UVC driver based, but it's not showing all of my capture cards, so I'm not 100% certain. Otherwise, you'll have to add it as a screen capture under capture card. And then you can choose it to automatically optimize the format and resolution and stuff that it supports, or you can manually put it in here, so I can crank it all the way up to 1080p 30 FPS, or 720p 30 FPS. You get the idea. And if you have a webcam that supports different color modes at lower resolutions, for example, at 640 by 480, I can actually use YUY2, which is going to be a little bit more CPU friendly, higher quality, things like that. That's an option available to you. We can click the plus and you have Twitch alerts, which you can add here. If you add it this way, it is using Twitch's official option. It does look like they will have options for other APIs supported in the future, since it is a dropdown that only has one option. I would imagine they might be working out Streamlabs and so on support at some point. Otherwise, you will have to use a different workaround for that by using the embedded web page. You can actually you customize your different alerts here, and you can test them. And honestly, they're super simple, but effective. Like, I really like this layout effect just because of how effective and simple it is. But you can customize a lot of different options about that, including the icons and the sounds. So, speaking of sounds, I mentioned that this video is in part sponsored by Owned, our regular sponsor for a lot of our streaming content. And Owned actually provides a lot of streaming resources, including sound effects and alerts and things like that for your streams. So, for example, I have downloaded their Glitch Pro layout package, and in that they have some alert sounds. So I can come in here and find these specific alerts that I want. So under follow, I can browse, copy this URL or copy this folder location and choose follow. And now when I play it, that didn't work. I chose that for the icon. Big rip. Okay, well, I broke that. Anyway, that was an accident. We're going to turn the volume on that way down. So the icon on that is totally broken out because I chose the WAV file as the icon because I wasn't paying attention, kids. But you can now open up your custom sounds. And theoretically, I could pull in one of these as an icon as well. That probably won't work, but we're going to experiment. Again, these alerts are more meant for your actual alert provider. So something like Streamlabs or something like that. We're going to pull in that WebM. Let's see what happens. Yeah, it is not loading the WebM. So you'd have to reset that, or like I said, it should be using Streamlabs. So I'm going to show you how to set up your own Streamlabs alerts here real quick, just so you want to use that instead of. So I'm going to go to my Streamlabs dashboard. That is not Streamlabs. So come into Streamlabs, your dashboard, go to the alert box widget, copy your widget URL, come over here to Twitch Studio, add a new source, embed web page, where it says about blank, click in there, delete that, hit paste for your URL, click enter. It shows the Streamlab icon, so it knows what's going on. And go ahead and test your alert.
I'm gonna get medieval on your asses.
It works. It's that easy. It really is that easy. You can adjust the size. If you need to chroma key it manually, you can, but it automatically pulls Streamlabs' chroma keying. You can manually adjust the resolution, enable or disable sound. Normal stuff. It's that simple. So I showed you a taste of it, but let's go ahead and make a new layout. We're going to right click it, rename it. We're going to call this OWN3D for Owned, because we're going to be showing you how to build your layout super quick here using the Owned resources. So again, I have this Glitch Pro pack. I have an animated overlay. I have a talking banner. Let's see what we have here. So I have a just talking screen. I have a transition. Now this does not support by default Stinger transitions. And so you will have to use that as a media source you kind of enable or disable yourself, or just not use them in this specific instance. I've got desktop wallpapers. Panels, of course, go straight to your Twitch page. So we're going to set up two scenes really fast here. We're going to set up a just normal gameplay capture scene, and then we are going to set up a just talking scene. So I'm going to go ahead and open a game here. I'm going to try to open one I can run in windowed mode, because I don't actually want the game running. That's going to be more difficult than I expected. Well, it crashed right to the desktop. All right, so we're going to first make our gameplay scene. I'm actually moving the game off monitor just so it doesn't interfere here. So we're going to set up our gameplay facecam scene first. So we're going to add main screen share. We're going to change the source. We're going to change it to Unreal Tournament 2004. Only capture this window. Capture cursor. We, of course, want the cursor to be seen. If you are doing a full screen game like most people, you can just choose full screen application. I can't keep mine full screen in order to do this tutorial. I'm going to hit done. Now, by default, this does not fit the screen, and for whatever reason, the actual bounding box for this is not accurate, as you can see here. It's not working. So I'm going to go over here to sizing and hit fill. I'm going to hit stretch. It's having a hard time, so we're just going to make it bigger if we can. Nope. You will not have to do this with a normal game. I will say that much. All right, that's close enough. Let's pretend it's working. Obviously, for normal 16:9 full screen games, you're going to be fine. So that is our gameplay. Next, we want to add some of our owned elements, such as our webcam overlay and some of our little alert pop-ups. So I'm first going to add my webcam itself, just so we know what we're working with. Now, if you're using an actual webcam or a capture card that supports UVC for cameras, then you would use webcam. But my webcam doesn't show up under that list. It shows up as a normal gameplay capture card. So it's going to be under screen share. For screen share source, I'm going to choose capture card, game capture. You want to immediately uncheck output to desktop audio. You do not want yourself looping there. And I'm actually going to turn down the volume altogether and mute it because I have audio coming in via a separate microphone. Again, auto optimized is selected as far as resolution and everything goes. That is fine for most people. If not, if we come over here to change source, you can uncheck auto optimize and choose which resolution, frame rate, and everything it's running at for yourself. I'm going to leave it on auto optimize. That's fine. So I'm going to make it small, and in a corner here, we seem to be stuck on this grid. There we go. That was weirdly annoying to take out. So here, we can position a basic gameplay face cam should we see fit. But let's take it one step further with the sources here. So we have our stream webcam overlay here. We have the Photoshop file that Owned gives you if you want to edit it yourself, or we can just use this one. And then we have 3 different versions with text, without text, which you would have to edit the text, or full. We're just going to use full here. So to add the source, we're going to go to plus, new image. We're going to choose an image, browse, put this location into the URL box here, webcam full. Shows up as its own image. Click select. We can also give that a name. So we're going to call this webcam overlay. And now we want to drag this and line it up to match with our webcam scene, which is going to be a little tedious. You can, of course, if you want to get super fancy, come up with the right numbers and stuff for it, but I like working visually. This gets really stuck on the edge. That's actually really annoying. So I'm just going to make it really big and obnoxious here. And then we need to come down to our webcam. Nope. So I'm going to make it big and obnoxious and put it like right there, and then I'm going to lock it so that now when I click on the webcam, it doesn't move the overlay. And then I'm going to resize my webcam to fit within this. Now we have a webcam overlay, and we have 2 fields for text. I believe that's supposed to be like your most recent bits and your most recent follower. So I'm going to lock the background screen as well and lock my webcam so that these are in place where you want them to go. Obviously, I'm a little out of sync there. Now for this, since the boxes are already there, what we actually need is text. So I'm going to make a new text source. Now, a limitation that you will run into specifically with Twitch Studio Beta here is it does not seem to support Twitch or text sources from files, which is how you do stream labels to get these follower alerts. So I'm going to simulate this for you, but this is not the final idea. So I'm going to just put my name here twice. EposVox, we're going to change the font to, it only has certain selected fonts, unfortunately not fonts on your system. That is also unfortunate. We're going to make that, that's fine. Resize our font here. I don't know why it wants to crop it off, so we will make the font smaller. We'll make it like, not 8, 10, nope. Something like 24, that's a little better. Fit it in there. This isn't exactly polished, but you get what I'm going for. There we go. Get my nice little name in there, and then you can flip around and do the other one there. Obviously, in an ideal world, you have actual, updated text support, but that is currently not a feature in Twitch Studio Beta. Again, this is open beta. They will be adding that in the future in all likelihood. But this is your basic setup, and then you can add, you know, animated overlays for additional ones. So for like your recent donation, they have one for just individual text bars. But again, without the text files, some of these are kind of redundant at the moment. But again, by the time this is fully released, you'll be able to use this, no problem. They do have a webcam and animated webcam overlay as well. So if I wanted to use that instead of the image, I can actually just hide this for a second. I'm going to go to add media instead. We're going to go to browse, and we're going to come down to animated webcam overlay. Go down to video, Glitch Pro webcam, select, and do the same thing. Basically just line it up with our camera here. And this will look a lot more polished because it's moving and doing its own thing. So just get it stretched up in the right spot. There we go. Nice little animated webcam. Add a little bit more polish. And then since that is now over top of my text, I just need to move the text layer up. And it looks like it's not in the exact same spot, so we need to resize it a little bit. And we're good to go. We can lock both layers. Animated overlay. Nice. Now, if you wanted to edit your Be Right Back scene to use their graphics, you can come down here to Be Right Back. I don't actually want to get rid of this one. I really like it, so I am going to just make a new one. But you could edit this and replace all the files. I'm actually just going to make a new layout. Plus, we're going to rename it BRB owned. That's fine. And then we're going to, once again, add image. Come down here, see what our intermission banner looks like. We have a pause one, an ending one, an offline one, and a starting one here. And these are if you want the image ones. What I like is that they include static ones if you just want to run with pictures. For example, if you're on a less powerful machine and running animated stuff is more difficult for your machine, this will make it easier. Or you have animated ones. So we do have animated intermission banners with including the blank background as well, which is pretty neat in case you wanted to just have something over top of that, like a countdown or something. So we're not going to use an image source. I've already shown you that. We're going to use media source. We're going to call this burb. Select the media file. Animated intermission banner. Come down to video. Pause. Select, and then you want loop on. Otherwise, it's going to turn off when it's done. Loop and restart playback when visible. For this specific use case, you want on. And sizing, you want to set it to fill. Except that's not filling. Those aren't working for some reason. Once again, it's beta. So I'm just going to stretch it out to fill it myself. And now we have a Be Right Back pause screen. Looks freaking awesome. Now let's set up our just chatting screen. Obviously, you can add the text elements here, and these can be static text. I'm going to go ahead and just add one of those. Twitter, call it EposVox or at EposVox. Going to make it a font size of like 11. 11's too small. A font size of like 18. Bring it down here. Add EposVox right there. And you can add that for each of those. And you have a really kick-ass Be Right Back screen. So we're going to do our just talking scene here real quick. So we're going to add actually I already made a new one. So I'm going to call it edit. Nope. It's renamed, not edit. Just chatting. All right. And then we're going to bring in the elements for that. So we have the animated talking banner. We have a few different ones, but we want just the talking screen webcam. That's the one that we want. So then we add a new layer. Once again, media source. We do want loop on for this. Browse. Obviously, every file that you import is stored in this media library, so it's easier to access, and you have sorting options for images, videos, sounds. That's pretty cool. We're going to go back to our own files, come down here to stream talking banner. Nope, that's the static one. Animated talking banner. Video files. Add that, select. Again, we have to resize it here. We do not want to lock this one yet because we will be adding layers underneath of it here, because you see here it has chat options, which they do not have built-in chat support for Twitch Studio Beta yet, which is unfortunate. You have the text elements, which you, again, cannot use at this exact point in time, but they will be adding it to the software. And then you have the text that you can add like we did before to your different social links. But you see here there's two different video feeds. So first, we're going to add our webcam, which is under screen share, because my setup, webcam. And then screen share source is going to be capture card. We're going to resize this roughly to fit where we want it. If we can get it off the wall here, that stick is really hard to let go. Set that up, and then we move it below the media. And now we're in a webcam frame. Heck yeah. And then this other one you could either use for another camera angle, a status screen where you're just saying just chatting, or only make it for your alerts, or you could have your gameplay there if you're waiting on gameplay. So for example, I can add main screen share, move it below everything, and then I need to lock that and lock that, and then we can drag it over here and fit our game view, just as a rough idea, over here so people can see that you're waiting in the lobby and just chatting with your viewers, which is pretty cool. Or I could turn that off and add my actual webcam of my kitty sleeping. Drag that there-ish, make it a little bit smaller, and drag that below everything. And now you get me and cat cam, which is pretty cool. And then lastly, we just need our chat here, because there is an opening for chat. So for that, you go up to your... So for that, you go to your Twitch page. All right, never mind, you will have to do it from your dashboard. Where you see chat, you click the little arrow there, which pops it out. And we're going to cut out the dashboard part. So we're going to copy this. There we go. Okay, so twitch.tv/popout/your username/chat. I'll have that put in the description below. Paste that in there. Now we have chat. And now we need to make it fit, but obviously it's too wide, so that's where we say custom page resolution. Width is way too high. We're going to say like 200. And try to fit it in here. Of course, it still insists on having a wide border for some bizarre reason. I can't make it get off the... There we go. All right, if I'm giving feedback here instead of just education, this little what you see is what you get editor needs a lot of work with regards to edge sticking because it is really difficult to get that off. All right. You can make it a little bigger than this, so that's 200, let's say 225. Fill it up a little bit. If you're using Streamlabs' chat widget, then you can actually just have the chat overlay and still see the background, and it has like a translucent background. I just wanted something quick and easy. And you can see here we have a fairly functional stream layout that looks pretty freaking awesome. Bless you. Goodness. Sneezy cat. Goodness. So that is the Twitch Studio Open Beta as of November 2019. Again, this is still a beta. They will be improving it and updating it over time. Should in the next few months they make some drastic changes to it, we will revisit it here on StreamGuides. But I wanted to, provide some coverage for you and talk about it and really kind of help bust those myths that this isn't meant to be OBS Lite or Twitch OBS or anything like that. It is definitely its own thing that has a different intended user market than Twitch or than OBS, which OBS is not even 100% catered towards Twitch or anything like that. Pretty cool software, great on them. I really believe that every streaming platform should have their own easy to use, accessibility, prone streaming option. And they used to have it, like Justin.tv before it became Twitch and all of that, or before Twitch took over and got rid of Justin and yada yada, had its own stream straight from your browser option. So did YouTube. Some of the sites provided their own app for it, and then all of that went away as OBS and XSplit and things like that kind of took over the market. But there is now that it's becoming more and more popular, there are more and more people who want to stream and still want that kind of app to be able to stream with. And I think every streaming platform should have an app like Twitch Studio catered towards their platform. So Mixer, you're next. Hope you enjoyed this episode of StreamGuides. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Go check us out on Floatplane for early access to videos and behind the scenes content. Go check out our sponsor, Dashlane and Owned at the links in the video description below. I'm EposVox, here to make tech easier and more fun. I'll see you next time.